Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome out to the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy. My name is Scott Richens. I'm the lead here on the training team at Infusionsoft, and I'm excited to be here with you today as we're going to be talking about building better landing pages and web forms. Now, the first thing that I like to do before we really get off and running here is I like to make sure that my audio is coming through loud and clear, that you can see my screen. So go ahead and use the questions section there on the right-hand side of your screen. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can, give me a shout out. Let me know where you're coming to us from. I like to get a feel for where folks are joining us from. It looks like things are coming through loud and clear here. I got Mike, Kate, and Jeff already shouting out. We got Jeff from Chicago, Dave from LA, San Francisco, Kansas City. All right, we got folks coming in from all over the place here. So I'm excited for this particular session here. If you've been on these sessions with me before, you know I say that every time. That just means I love my job. I love what we talk about here on the Virtual Academy because it's all about helping you guys get really comfortable and confident with Infusionsoft and how to launch Infusionsoft within your business to maximize its effectiveness and your ability to increase leads. That's what we're talking about today, building better landing pages and web forms and many other aspects here that we cover within the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy. Now, if this is your very first session here today, welcome. I'm glad that you've joined us here. I want to make sure that you know this is a live session. Feel free to ask questions as we go. You can use on that right-hand side of your screen is typically where it pops up. It's a GoToMeeting dialog box, and it says questions right there. Feel free to type in a question, and I will read that out to the group and answer those questions as we go. Now, sometimes I'm not actually able to answer the question immediately when you ask that one. Actually, that's going to be a majority of the time. I'll be going through some presentation here. I've got about 45 minutes here of presentation and demonstration. Sometimes I can take those questions during the course of the presentation because they're really relevant to that particular part. Other times, I will choose to hold off on a question, and instead I'll answer that towards the end when I do a Q&A portion. So if I don't answer your question, you don't need to ask it multiple times. Know that I will circle back around, and I will go through all of those questions. And if we need to go extra innings here today, I have some time blocked out to do that so we can answer all the questions that you guys have. So again, feel free to ask those questions, interact with me here as we go. Now, with that being said, I like to ask a quick question here as we're getting started. And that question is this: how long has your company been with Infusionsoft? I like to get a feel of who we've got here. So go ahead and give me some feedback on this one. There's no wrong answer, so don't worry about that. I've got 0 to 30 days, 30 to 90 days, 3 to 12 months, 1 to 2 years, and 2+ years. I just like to get a feel for who we're pulling here to these particular calls. And remember, this is how long has your company been with Infusionsoft, not just how long have you been using it yourself. I like to get a feel for the company as well. So go ahead and give me some feedback there. I'll leave that up for about 5 more seconds. Looks like we've had about 60% of you vote here so far. I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. All right. We always get a little spike there right towards the end. So I'm going to save that information here real quick. I appreciate you giving me that feedback. Looks like actually our sweet spot here today is those of you that have been with us for 3 to 12 months. We've got nearly half of you that have been with us for that long. So that's not uncommon for this particular session. A lot of times in the first couple months, you're really trying to get focused on the basics. This one is one where we get a little bit more advanced. We start talking a little bit more about some strategy about building landing pages and web forms. So that's what we're going to be covering here today. So let me go ahead. I've got a little bit of a presentation here as we get started. I'll flip this on so we should be able to see it. Actually, I need to make one adjustment here. Okay. And we should be all set now. All right, perfect. Now, just as a reminder, my name's Scott Richens here. If you do want to connect with me on Twitter, you can do that by connecting with me on my Twitter handle at Scott Richens, Richins. I post out a lot of information there about the virtual academies. Also, the recordings from each of these sessions. This session is being recorded, and as long as everything functions properly when I go to convert it, I should have that posted up for you tomorrow morning. This session is set to last about 45 minutes. So many times people like to come back around and review some things after the fact, just to get a second, refresher there based on the things that we covered. So That's really what we'll be hitting here today. Now, one announcement here, one thing I want to make sure that you're aware of, if you like what we're going through here on the Virtual Academy, you would probably love our Infusionsoft University. We're actually bringing this on the road to London. So if you're over there in Europe, I invite you to check out our Infusionsoft University. That's coming up here quick. We'll be flying out in less than 2 weeks to come see you guys. Go to infusionsoft.com/UK University. It's a 2 or 4 day course, depending on what you want to take. And this is a paid event that we put on. We're bringing the best of the best. We've got myself, Jordan Hatch, and Francis Jones, 3 of our lead trainers that we've had here over the past couple of years. We're coming out to really teach you how to maximize Infusionsoft, how to really get set up and use it to its full potential. So I invite you to check that one out. Now, what we're talking about here today is building better landing pages and web forms. And I want to position this within lifecycle marketing. In lifecycle marketing, what we're looking at is the life cycle of your customers, your prospects to customers, and how they're progressing through. I want you to have a plan. And today's topic, what we're covering, is this capture leads portion. So we're assuming you've already got some ways to attract some interest. People are already finding out about you, answering the question, if I were my target audience, how would I find out about my company? Okay, so I want you to consider, how are people finding out about you? And then we talk about capturing leads. We talk about, how are we capturing them? Great, they find out about you. Do you drive them to a website somewhere? Do you drive them to a landing page? Do you drive them to make a phone call? What is it that you're doing to attract that interest? Now we're going to talk about capturing leads here today and some strategies surrounding that. And specifically, we're talking about landing pages and web forms. So here's our agenda for today. I want to first start talking about web forms versus landing pages. Let's clear up the difference and make sure everybody understands and is on the same page of what a web form is and a landing page. Then we're going to dive into some specifics of what you should include in web forms, what you should include in landing pages, elements of each of those. And then I want to take us over to Infusionsoft, where we're going to talk about some specifics there of building web forms and landing pages using our drag and drop builder tool, and how to then launch those to your websites. So that's really the agenda here for today. So the place that I like to start is web forms versus landing pages. Let's get very clear on what these are. I've got a little screenshot here of a mock, wireframe of a website, and the web form is what we have right here to the right-hand side. Web forms you should all be common with or familiar with. If you've been on the web and you've been on numerous different sites, you've seen these fields where you can put in your information and usually receive something. That's a web form. That's a very basic web form. First name, email address, maybe some options on that particular form. Fantastic. Web forms are great because they can go anywhere. You can place them on any site that you have. Now, the difference between a web form and a landing page is that a landing page is a web form in and of itself, it's a web page in and of itself, and it includes a web form. So a landing page includes a web form, but you actually get to design the entire page. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth on those two things, but I want to draw that parallel there. Web form is just the form itself. A landing page includes the form, but it is also the entire page surrounding it that we also want to take into account. So let's dive a little bit deeper on those. Web forms are great for capturing prospects where they already are. What do I mean by that, Scott? Well, I mean home pages. Okay, your home page you've already designed, you've already developed. What I recommend that you do is you also include a web form on that. We'll talk about some examples here. I have some examples of people that do that. But your prospects are already coming to your homepage to learn about your company. Great. Put a web form on that pre-existing page. Blogs are another great place that you can use web forms. You see all the time on blogs in the sidebar, the right-hand side or left-hand side, you've got a web form there to the side of a blog post. The blog post talks about a particular topic, but they also have in the sidebar, they have these web forms with some standard offers that they're making that hit their target audience. That web form is a standalone form that they then added to an existing site. Okay, so web forms really focus on capturing prospects where they already are. It's places where you already have traffic going to, and now we're going to add a web form to a page that you already have designed. Now, when we start talking about a landing page, it's a little bit different. Landing page here, in its purpose, in its execution, we're saying this is a page where we're sending prospects, specific prospects. We're sending prospects where we want them to go. Okay, these are off of things like pay-per-click advertisements, PPC, pay-per-click advertisements, or banner advertisements. If you're doing any sort of online advertisements, you want to now direct those people to a specific page. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Links in an email. If you're sending an email out to an audience and you want to drive them to a page where they can sign up for some more information or convert them to an event or otherwise, great. You should send them to a landing page. Third one here is direct mail. So this is where we start roping in offline promotions or connections that you might be making here through some direct mail, and then send them to a targeted landing page. The key here is this: you control who gets to that landing page. These landing pages are designed for a particular target audience. And so you want to use these most especially when you are making a targeted offer to a targeted audience, because then you can tailor that conversation. I'll dive deeper into that in a moment. But that starts to give us our divide between landing pages and web forms. The web forms, you capture people where they already are. You put them on existing web pages that you've already built. Landing pages are standalone web pages that you're going to create in Infusionsoft. You can create them outside of it as well, but today I'm going to teach you how to create them in Infusionsoft. And you want to control who gets to these pages. You want to know who it is that's coming to these pages, because you can control that through pay-per-click advertisements or banner advertisements, links in an email, or direct mail. You control it by targeting these particular people. Now, let's start diving in here. Let's start talking about elements in particular for web forms. The first thing that I want to talk about here is your headline. Your headline or your hero shot. These are two things that you can use in combination or one or the other. Your headline is usually going to be that bold title case words that grab your attention and help your audience keep reading. Okay, the hero shot, I didn't list that here, I apologize, but I want to talk about it. The hero shot is many times, it's that glossy or high-res picture. It's something there that now is attracting attention. The whole goal of your headline or your hero shot is to make a quick connection with that person that's on your page. You want them to see your web form. You want that to stand out. And now you want to connect with them through some sort of an offer. And your headline, your bullet points, your headline or your hero shot are the first couple ways that you're going to grab that attention. Sometimes that's the cover of a book or a cover of a CD, something that's now adding a physical value, increasing that perceived value of what it is that you're offering. Other times it can just be a headline that's now a question or a strong statement that's reaching out and connecting with that particular audience. The goal is to get them to read more. What do we want them to read more? Well, we want to start taking them into some bullet points after that. People want to know what they're getting. They want to know that they're getting something in exchange for their personal information, which is what we're going to ask them for. We're going to ask them for a first name or an email address. The whole goal here is to capture these leads so that we can follow up with them. This is the initial connection that we're making with these prospects. And so they want to know, they need to know that they're getting something valuable in return for their personal information. So what you can begin doing here is summarizing the benefits of your offering. Bullet points. People are trained to know that bullet points are going to be short, succinct information that's really boiled down. It's telling me exactly what to expect. And so you give them a nice introductory sentence, and then you can give them some bullet points that describe what your offer is. What is your offer? Your offer might be something like a free video series that's introducing them to your product or service or to a problem that you can help them solve. It can be a free report or a white paper. It could be a free webinar. It could be an event that you're doing, a free preview event or a consultation. There are a lot of different options here, but what we need to start doing here is connecting with them, connecting with your prospects, building within their mind your expertise. And there's also this psychological sense of reciprocity within there. So now you're giving them something that can help them either make a decision or move forward within a project that they're working on. Great. in that process, you're capturing them as a lead. You can now begin to follow up with them, and you're establishing yourself as an expert within this particular field, which they have some questions. So bullet points is a great way to now begin summarizing that information, giving them some targeted information right there about what you are now offering them and why they should sign up to receive it. Okay, you want to build in that information. You want to key in on, I remember when I was 14, my uncle gave me a Brian Tracy CD, and he talked about everybody's favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? You want to make sure that you're speaking to that. You're speaking to how you're going to be able to help them. So bulleted points is a great way to do that. Now, something else that we have within here, something I recommend is what we call comfort language. A lot of times, like we said, in the very beginning here, this is the beginning of a relationship. This is the beginning of an interaction here. And so what you need to do is provide some bounds to that interaction, provide some confidence within that interaction. So the comfort language can be something like speaking to a no spam policy or a privacy policy, or we promise to not rent, sell, or trade your email addresses, something like that now is putting forth some sort of guarantee on your side. You want to make sure that you follow through on that guarantee. But that's a concern that some people have. Great. What are they going to do with my email once I sign up for it? Set the expectation there. Give them some comfort language, set the expectation. We'll follow up with you, whatever you might do there. But include some comfort language on there. Now, the next thing here, and possibly the most important of a web form, is the actual fields themselves, the capture fields. This is where we're asking for a first name and a last name. We're asking for an email address. Perhaps we've got some drop-down options where they're self-selecting some information about themselves to tell you a little bit more. The capture fields are a critical portion of this. One thing that I want to point out to you, though, is we've got one of our, the former head of our training department here was Jordan Hatch, and he's got what he calls Jordan's Law number 1. And Jordan's Law number 1 says that the more steps that you ask somebody to do, the fewer people that are actually going to complete that. And that applies here when we're talking about capture fields. I want you to be very judicious in the fields and the information that you're asking for, because the more fields that somebody sees that you're asking for, the more they're scared off. Even if they're not required, like that doesn't make a difference there. If they just see 15 fields, they're gone, they're bouncing, okay? Whether or not they're required. So be judicious in what you're asking for. If all you need is a first name and an email address, fantastic, go for that. If you need a phone number to follow up, then yes, absolutely ask for a phone number. But be judicious in what it is that you're asking for up front. With a system like Infusionsoft, you're able to begin gathering more information along the way, so you don't have to get all that information up front. We just need to get enough to get started. So that's what you want to start looking for there on your capture fields. Now, the submit button, or like I say here, the call to action button. With the submit button, this is the button that people are clicking. You've all seen a submit button here. What I want to recommend to you is modify it so it doesn't just say submit. You will almost always increase your conversion rate by changing it from a submit button to some sort of call to action. I recommend that you make that call to action congruent with the action that they're taking. So if they're requesting a guide, make the button say, send me my guide. If it's some sort of free offer, make it, I want it now, place my order, give it to me, give me immediate access, whatever it might be. Make it a call to action that is now congruent with the action that they're taking. And it's also setting the expectations for what's going to happen next. You can rope that all into a button, a submit button, that's actually going to be more powerful in helping you create more conversions. And the last thing that I want to talk about here is the thank you page. The thank you page is extremely valuable real estate for you. It's where the person is going to land immediately following hitting that submit button. Now, I'll show you your options with a thank you page here towards the end of this particular session when you're creating those. But the thank you page is where you get to set expectations for what's happening next, or tell them what to do next. So if I'm delivering them information and it's going to be sent via an email, great. On that thank you page, I'm going to tell them what's happening next. If I'm doing a double opt-in or an email confirmation, I'm going to tell them what to expect next. I'm going to tell them, hey, we just sent you an email. Be sure to go check your inbox and it came from, Scott at infusionsoft.com or whatever it might be, whatever the email address is that it comes from. Because now you're setting that expectation. You may recommend to check your spam folders and add them to the safe senders list. There's some things that you can do, especially on that first connection there when they've signed up to receive some information. So the thank you page is a great place for you to now set those further expectations of what's going to happen next. So that's the basics there when it comes to using and creating a web form. Those are the elements of a web form. So what I want to do here, let me pop out of here for a moment. I want to show you some examples. I just got some feedback here from somebody that said they were losing some audio. Is anybody else losing audio right now? Or is that just a very targeted case here? Nope. Okay, I'm hearing from some other folks that they're not losing audio, so that might have been a connection there on their side. Okay, perfect. So we'll keep going here. What I've got here, I've just popped up a couple examples on my screen. I've got one example here of Degree 33 surfboards. Actually, I've got 3 folks here that were some of the finalists for our Ultimate Marketer of the Year contest last year in 2012, and then I've got an example of our winner from this year in 2013, and they execute web forms in a wonderful fashion here on their web pages, on their home pages. So let me show you this. Notice right here on this screen, they've actually done a pop-up. Now this was something that they went through and custom coded, but they did a pop-up. So when I come to this page, they pop this up right up front, get $25 off your first order. That's a headline right there. Notice they've got these bullet points. They look like check boxes, but they're bullet points. Sign up below and we'll instantly send you a coupon for $25 off your first order. Plus, we'll send you our 34-page surfboard guide as a bonus. So now they're setting those expectations very quickly, telling me exactly what to do. Fill out the form. We'll send you the coupon, first name, email address, and like I said, call to action here for their surfboard audience. Hook me up with my coupon. That's what they found, or that's what they're testing here. Actually, this pop-up was not here last time I did this a month ago, so they're continually testing and trying new things. Notice down here, we also have the comfort language. We respect your email privacy and promise to never share or rent your personal information to any third party. So now they're setting that expectation. I read a study recently that said having a padlock on your page increases conversions every time. People associate that with security. So that's why they included that right here as well. Now notice when I close this one, this is really what I wanted to demonstrate here. Just below the fold, they actually have what they've been using here for quite a while. They've got their web form here on their home page. So this is a great example of an execution of a web form. They've got the headline right here. It's got that blue that's drawing attention on this particular screen. They've got a lot of black and white photography here, but there's also this blue that's beginning to draw my attention. Surf guide and $25 off. That's really the value proposition that they're offering here. And then they've got a hero shot, intro sentence with some bullet points, a little bit more detail on the offer, and then what they're requesting here. Okay, so this is a great example of an execution of all of those elements that we spoke about there of a web form. Another example there, and this one I like because it's above the fold. Notice here, this is another company called Praxis now. Proven formula to achieve your goals in a fraction of the time. Get free instant access. So they're really highlighting what it is that they're offering here. We've got some bullet points here that are very short and succinct, asking for a first name, email address, and then instant access. Their privacy or their comfort language here is simply a no spam policy. Not quite sure what that means, but that's what they're saying right here. There's no click through. It just says no spam policy. Okay. The button here is congruent now. Instant access. Give me instant access. I know what's going to happen when I fill this out. I will be getting instant access to something. Okay. Now, the next one here that I want to show you, just a different implementation of it, is right down here. Hey, they've updated this as well. They just did a retool on this site. This one, they make it stand out a little bit more than they previously did. You don't know what I'm referencing, but I do here. So that's what I'm telling you. They've updated it here. And that's one thing here that I like to point out. There have been 2 of these that as I pulled it up, they've changed it from what I normally see here when I'm making these demonstrations. And the reason being is they're always working to improve things. They're always trying something a little bit different, make a change, make a test, and see what works best for your audience. Okay, so in this particular case, now they're saying join the group. This one is a lot more subtle. Join our mailing list and we'll keep you current and in the loop. First name, last name, email address. They're not setting as many expectations. I don't know how often this is going to happen. I don't know what it is that I'm receiving. It just says currently or join the group, get in the loop. And where I believe that comes from is the fact that they have a lot of different offerings here. And so their web page is trying to speak to all of these different target audiences. Now that's when we start talking about landing pages here, is when we start talking about target audiences. So let me shift over here to some target audiences. Actually, I got a couple questions here as well. Let me take a quick look here. Mike's asking, would you use a landing page for a webinar? Mike, you tell me here in a moment once I go through this. I want you to see what you think on this one. Glenn, I'm going to show you that in a moment. Glenn said, can we use a link in a campaign email to get more information about our prospects? If so, do we have to ask them to resubmit a form? Glenn, I'll show you one on that here in a moment. And Mike says, apparently he's giving me some grief here. Mike says, I'm 50 years old, but I may still sign up for that surfboard guides. Okay, fantastic. Let's go here. I've got another portion here, some elements of a landing page that I want to talk about. The elements here of a landing page. Here's the first thing that I want to tell you. Like I said in the beginning, these landing pages include a web form. So everything that I just told you still gets wrapped into this. Okay, everything that I just walked through with you, having a headline, having that hero shot, bullet points, a call to action in your submit button, the capture fields, all of that is still relevant when you're creating your landing page, because your landing page includes a web form. But when and why would I want to use a landing page? Well, here's the first question I want you to ask. Who are your target audiences? Who is it that you're trying to speak to? Now, one thing that I want to ask here is, how many of you have been a sales rep in the past? Start putting your sales rep hat on. Okay, think about when you were a sales rep and somebody calls into you. One of the first things that you're trying to do is understand a little bit more about this person. You're trying to begin segmenting them and seeing what product or service that you can offer and how you can best speak to them. Even if you only have one product or service that you really focus on, you want to understand who they are, which of your target audiences do they fit into, so you can speak appropriately to the benefits or the fears or whatever it might be that will most help you connect with that particular person, that particular target audience. Landing pages help you do the same thing online. When everybody comes to your home page, the problem is when you try and talk to everybody, you effectively talk to nobody. You're trying to be a jack of all trades and you're a master of none. You try and have that same conversation with every prospect that you get on the phone with when you're a sales rep, and you're not going to close as many people because you're not speaking to them where they're coming from. Rewind and remember what I told you about landing pages. They're best used when you're speaking, or when you can control who gets to that page. When you can control who gets to that page, you know something about them. When they're coming from a particular pay-per-click advertisement or from a banner advertisement, you know where that ad was posted, or you know what keywords that they were typing in to make your banner pop up or your ad pop up. When you're sending out a link in an email, you know who it was that was sent to, because you could control that. You pull the segmented list that you sent that email to, or when you send a direct mail piece, you may go buy a list from somewhere and send them a direct mail piece. Oftentimes you do that based on a target demographic. You know some information about these people. So what I'm going to recommend that you do is you tailor those conversations by creating landing pages. So the first question that I ask is, who is your target audience? And now what we can do is start applying those things that I just spoke to you about that begin to target this message. Number one, I want you to have a focused message. You should deliver a single focused message that doesn't confuse the visitors. Don't try and get them to do 2 or 3 or 4 different things. You're going to confuse them. Deliver a single focused message to your visitors so that you can stay on point and you can really drive them towards that particular goal. To support that and back that up, you want to make sure that you have strong copy. You want to make it concise and direct, yet easy to understand. You don't have a long time to convince people to stay with you. I've read some studies that say it's as quick as 7 seconds. You've got to capture somebody and keep them there. That's why you need to have a strong headline. That's why you need to have a strong hero shot there that gets them to read the next paragraph. And now you've got some bullet points, and they're short, they're quick, and they're easy to read. When you have large blocks of content, people, they kind of look at that and go, man, if I start this paragraph, I'm kind of committing to read the whole thing. They'll read a sentence and they're gone, if they're not scared off by a big block of paragraph. Make them small paragraphs, make them direct, and it becomes this little interchange. Okay, I read the headline, I'm interested, great. You just got a pass for me to read the next paragraph. I'm going to read the next paragraph, and I choose if I want to keep reading paragraph by paragraph here. So that's what I recommend that you do. Use short paragraphs, but make it strong copy, especially there in the beginning. That's now solidifying people to get them to continue reading the information that you have there, but you want to make it concise and direct. Okay. Third one here, simple design. I'm going to recommend that you have a clean, crisp design here on your pages. That can drastically increase your conversion rates. You just simplify the design. Don't put a lot of bells and whistles. You don't have a lot of like flashing, pictures and stuff like that. No, simple, clean design will win better every time. Now, I also want you to limit your navigation. This goes right along with simple design. When you have a lot of navigation, I've seen some people create landing pages and they create it on their same page template that they have for the rest of their website. And what that ends up doing is it confuses your audience. They'll see this about us or a contact us or a services or a products or all this different stuff. And now they click through on that and you just lost them. Here, you went through all the effort to pay to get this person to your site. Maybe you did some online advertising. I don't care. You did something to now get them to this site. And this page, this landing page is now uniquely created to speak to this target audience. And then they leave because you got navigation that distracts them. Don't do that. You're sending them to the page that is now the best page that's created to speak to that particular person. Limit your navigation. Keep them there on that page and make them a single focused offer there. Finally, be consistent. If you're using email to drive prospects to your landing page, make the message of your landing page consistent and congruent with the messaging that got them there from the email. If you're using banner advertisements or pay-per-click advertisements, you're making an offer on that. If somebody's interested, they're interested in what you're talking about there on that ad. They click through. Speak to them the same way you spoke to them in the advertisement. Make it congruent. Make it something where they're like, oh yeah, this is the same thing I just clicked through on. Sometimes it feels more like a bait and switch. I click through on one thing and then there's different messaging on the landing page. You're going to get a high bounce rate. People are going to leave your page real quick. So be consistent. Rope in some of the same language, the same offer that you had in your advertisement into your headline. Now you're making a very quick, cognizant connection there for your audience. Oh yeah, okay, great. Same thing. They pick up where they left off. They start reading some bullet points. On they go. That's one of the most important things there, especially if you're driving traffic from other places online. Be consistent. Be consistent in your messaging. Now, I want to go through here and jump into Infusionsoft. So I invite you to do that here with me. I'm going to log in here myself. Now, what I want to point out to you is within Infusionsoft, we recently added this branding center. Okay, so if you go to Admin Branding Center, you should see where you can create your default templates for many different things within your Infusionsoft application. All of your different email types, you can set it up for your web forms and your landing pages. So I'm going to demonstrate that here today within the web forms and the landing pages portions. I want to show you what you're able to do. I'm actually going to start with a landing page because it translates directly to a web form as well. It's got the same stuff, the same options there. So I'm going to show you here on a landing page, then I'm going to show you how we go in and actually launch one. But the first place that I recommend that you create one of these is actually here in your branding center. Some of you may not see the branding center, and that's likely because of permissioning. It is accessible to all the administrators on your Infusionsoft account. If you don't see it, it's likely a permission factor. So just work with the administrator there on your account. Now, if I want to edit this landing page, what I'm able to do is simply click the edit button, and that takes me into my builder where I can begin creating this. Now, landing page has a couple different options than you will see on your web forms, and that is this information that we have up here: title, meta keywords, and meta description. Now, again, in your branding center, you're creating a default template, something that you can then work from in the future. So, for example, right here, I could say for my title, what I can create. My title right here would be the title that will appear right up here. Okay, so on my tabs, notice how this says Ministry Finance. This says Home, Brain Training, Surfboards from Longboards. That title is the page title, and so you can specify that right here. Your meta keywords and meta description now starts to get more into your SEO and your search engine optimization. I'm not going to go deep into that right now, but I recommend at a base level, you put your keywords, what it's speaking to within this particular page and description. So your keywords is just a few keywords. Your description is more of a short line or two, or a very short paragraph that now speaks to the objective of the page here. So that's information that you can set up on your landing pages. Now, as I mentioned, with landing pages, it is a unique web page that you're creating that includes a web form. So notice how we have the web form over here to the right-hand side. We've got all of our content, and then we've got our web form. Now, for more details on how to come in and really manipulate this and put everything together as far as a look and feel and all the content that we have over here, I want to invite you to check out another one of my Academy sessions that I've taught here. And that is the Drag and Drop Builder course. I just taught this one a couple days ago, so I've got a very recent recording available. I go in depth on how to use all of the different options that we have within the Drag and Drop Builder here. So my goal here today is not to teach you all about the formatting here within things and how to use all of these different snippets, but rather how to show you how to create one of these forms and we're building upon some of that design that I've already taught within the Drag and Drop Builder session. So again, this is our Drag and Drop Builder here. We give you a nice default layout here. It's a 2-column layout that you've got. So what I recommend when you're creating one of these landing pages is great. You can swap out your logo. If you want to create a strong banner here that now is either speaking to your offer, or this banner could incorporate your logo as well. Many people do that. They'll just strip out this logo portion. They'll place in a banner that incorporates their logo and maybe a tagline or the hero shot all right here within this banner. To swap that out, you simply double click, and then you can upload a new image or choose from another image that you have already created. Now, you also have all of your content down here. Now, notice right here what we've got. We give you a header right here, but then what we start using here is what's called our spotlight snippet. Now, the reason we show this one here and we default you to the spotlight snippet is that becomes a great way for you to make some strong bullet points. And the reason behind that is you can double click right here and you can swap out this image. You can use a checkbox if you want to, or you can go find another image that you want to use. We give you this default green arrow right here that can now point to your bullet points that you're speaking about. And you could put your first line right here of your bullet point and then some further description. It's a great way to then structure your information. It makes it easy for people to quickly skim it. So now I can put my title in here. I would likely drop in an extra intro paragraph, very short paragraph, but then jump right into my bullet points here to where I can speak to bullet point number 1, bullet point number 2, bullet point number 3. And, whoops, I had a pop-up on this other page, and go a little bit deeper into each of those bullet points here. That makes it very easy for people to then drop down and read more when they find the bullet point that most interests them. Mike asked, should I have a group of spotlight images available? No, this is a default one right here. There's a default image that we have, and the images that you see right here are actually the same images that I have available throughout my application. It's the same listing of images that I have up top here. So those are all images that I've uploaded. We don't have any default or preloaded images for you. Yeah, you do need to go upload those images. Sometimes you can just do a quick Google search. You'll just want to check copyright information or fair usage laws on that kind of stuff. Just make sure that you're getting them from places that allow you to use those images. Now, again, you're able to go through here. What I don't cover in my drag and drop builder session is the actual web form portion. I leave that for this particular session today. So that's what I want to go through. You've got your field snippets here, and that's what is already in use over here. This first snippet that I have here is my name snippet. I also have a phone snippet here in place. Notice if I want to edit some of this information, I simply click right here and it pops up that block, that field. Notice the first name and last name come together. We group information that's like information. If you don't want the last name, simply uncheck it, and now that last name goes away. Again, if I want it back, I can check it. I also can control whether or not it's required. So I can turn that off and on here. The last thing that you can do within here is modify the actual label itself. So right now it will say first name. Great. That's what I want it to say. I've got a phone number, or I've got a phone within here again. Where phone came from was simply pulling in under field snippets, this one here that said phone. And when I drop that in place, it says, okay, great. What would you like to show? And this is now looking at all of the different phone information that ties to a contact record. Okay, I didn't mention that first name, last name, that's tying to a contact record. When somebody's going to fill out this form, it's going to populate the first name and the last name field in Infusionsoft. When somebody fills out this form, it's going to populate the phone one portion. And I'm able to now modify that label and simply say phone number required, yes or no. Great. I can place that here. Now I previously had a hidden field here. Let me remove that. That's that hidden option, but let's keep going through here. Email. You're pretty much always going to want to include an email here. And this is giving me the option to choose between different email fields. 98% of the time, you're going to say email. Just leave it populating the email one field. Save. Okay, so you're starting to see how things are coming together here. This allows me to look at all of the other fields within Infusionsoft. So company, job title, website, anniversary. I've got some custom fields down here, number of referrals, status, append to person notes. So I've got some custom fields down here. I can also create custom fields. So if there's information that you need to store, fantastic. You can create a custom field right here within which to store that information. And I'm not going to go deep into custom fields here, but I do want to point out the fact that you can do that. Now, what we can also do here, we've got radio and we've got checkbox. And these are two that I want to point out. These ones are really helpful. You can put in a radio button here to ask a simple question. Now, the point of comparison that I want to make here between radio and checkbox, there's two different reasons to use them. I'm going to go old school on you here. Think about the old push button radios that you had in your cars or otherwise, okay? That's where it comes from. You could only push down one at a time. As soon as you push down one of those radio stations, the other one popped up. And if you tried to push them both down, you break it, okay? So that's where the term radio button comes from. That's when you want to give people multiple options and tell them to pick one. They can only choose one of the following. Which are you? Are you male or are you female? Which are you? Are you a parent or are you a student? Which are you? Right? So you can now start to segment your list based on posing a simple question. The difference between the radio button and the checkbox is the checkbox is a multiple select. You can put in multiple checkboxes. And what then happens there is people can check any and all of those checkboxes. So I'm going to delete these here. Again, this was us creating a default template here. The last couple options you've got are your address and CAPTCHA. The address right here pulls in all address information. So if you're going to mail something out, fantastic. You just pull in an address block here. You can choose whether it's the billing or shipping or optional address fields within Infusionsoft. And then again, you can modify those labels within there as well. And say save. So I just wanted to show you here quickly a default template that we could create using the branding center. Now I want to show you how we can go launch something that we create based on this template that we've just generated here. I'm going to say back to branding center. Let me click save first, and then I'll go back to branding center, where we now create these landing pages and web forms. Is we're going to create these from within the campaign builder. So I'm going to add a new campaign here. I'm going to give that a name. And for me, my naming convention here, since this is the Infusionsoft Virtual Academy, I'm going to title this ISVA, and then I will say this is my June landing page demo. That helps me identify what this was for. And when we start talking about landing pages and web forms, those are goals. Those are things that we want people to do. We want our prospects to do. And so many times I'll use this one here that says request information. Notice right here that it's got this purple icon. This purple icon says this goal is achieved when a contact submits a web form. And if I double click on this, it allows me to customize a web form. Notice what we have here. Alternatively, if I instead wanted this to be a landing page, I can simply click that purple icon and now say submits a landing page form and save. And now I can double click. And what I'm customizing is now a landing page. And this landing page is going to be based on that default that I just created. Notice it has the street address here, and it's got some of my default information. I can now go through and customize this landing page and then launch that one out. I have one that I'll create here quickly. Let me find a sample one that I've got that we'll recreate. I can say, I've got a sample one that I'm going to create here. And so what I'm going to pull in is just some imagery here that I've already got set up. I've got a rainy day header here that I'm going to insert. Whoops, and that picture didn't work there. I might have lost that particular image, and I need to re-upload that one. So I may not be able to pull that particular one in here for this demo. Let me do something here. This one's real handy as well. Watch this. I can say revert changes. That actually undoes any changes that I've made here within this particular example. So what I can do, I can go over, I can customize some information here and say request our free report. I'll ask for a first name, and as I said, you can create your template, but then each time you create a landing page, you can ditch the information that you don't need. First name, email, fantastic. And then let me add a radio button here. And so for this particular example, I'm going to use an example here that says, how soon will your child be entering college? And this is an example that I typically use for financial planning. If you're planning for college and retirement at the same time, I want to ask you how soon your child's going to be entering college, because that's one simple question that I can ask that now speaks to me what the urgency is that you might have. So I can add an option there, 0 to 3 years. I can say 3 to 10 years. I can add an extra option here, 10 to 15 years. And I can begin to identify some of these different options that they can choose from. Anytime you use a landing page, a radio button or a checkbox, I recommend that you also apply a tag for every one of these. So here I'm going to say this is my 0 to 3 years tag that I've already created. That's a best practice there. I'm just going to recommend you always do that. Every time you do an option like this, have it apply a tag. Done. And 10 to 15 years. I'll choose that one and done. So that's our best practice here. I'm going to hit save. Now, here's what you're able to do. Okay, I'll say this is our college versus retirement. What you're able to do is now customize your thank you page. This is the page that people will see immediately following your filling out that form. And so you can go through and customize this. You can set expectations. Thanks for filling out our form. Please check your email inbox for the email we just sent you. Okay, so you're able to go through, begin to customize this particular page. And that's your thank you page. Now there's a couple other things that we can also begin to customize here, and that is the settings and the code. The settings part, let's see. Somebody asked here, Glenn, you asked earlier, can we use a link in a campaign email to get more information about our prospects? If so, do we have to ask them to resubmit? Glenn, there are some other alternatives that you have to not having people fill out a form to gather information. But let's say you need to have them fill out a form. You want them to answer a survey or otherwise, or register for an event, and you need to gather some additional information. This right here is going to be your best friend. Auto-populate this form. What this does, anytime you send an email to somebody that links to this form, and it's an email that's delivered by Infusionsoft, since we send it to that unique person, when they click through, we already know who they are. So we can pre-fill the fields for the information that we already have on them. So if we already have their first name, we already have their email address, great. They click through, those fields pre-fill, which will increase your conversion rates. And all you have to do is check this checkbox here, and that form knows to then pre-populate when it comes from an Infusionsoft email address. Question most people ask is, well, what happens when somebody fills out multiple forms? Great. We've got built-in duplicate checking. You can tell us what constitutes a duplicate. By default, it will simply check for that person's email address. So as long as that person's email address is the same that's already on file for a contact in Infusionsoft, it will simply update that person's contact record. You can also choose some other options here, but this is the most common one that's used. Also, if you want to be notified every time somebody fills out this form, then fantastic. You simply put in the email address here and the notification subject that you want to have in that email notification. Every time somebody fills out this form, it will send you a notification. There are some times that you will want that. There are other times it will probably become annoying. So all you have to do is delete this and save it. My goal is for you to get so many people opting in that it becomes annoying. You choose to then shut it off. So that's what you've got under settings. Now, the last part here is code. What do I do? Scott, you've been telling me all about this stuff. We've now talked about what I should put on my page. We've talked about how to create the page. We've talked about all this stuff. How do I actually use the form? So let's make sure we talk about that. That's where this code part comes in. Now, one thing that I want to tell you is this. What you're going to do, trust me, people do it all the time. You're going to click through. You're going to look at one of these. These are the hosted versions. This is the version of the web form that, or the landing page or the web form that we host for you. It's live and it's ready to go. You can click through and you'll view this and you'll say, but Scott, that's not what we just created. And you might get frustrated if you don't remember this. We have for you a draft mode and a ready mode, an edit mode and a live mode. That gives you the ability to actually come in and modify this in the future without it being live immediately. That's also the same reason this doesn't look like what I just created. So you have to mark it as ready and then go publish it. Now, this may not allow me to mark it as ready. Hey, it might. Let me click publish, okay? So when I mark it as ready and I click back to campaign, I can now publish this landing page or a web form likewise. I can publish, and here's what happens. It now updated that live version. It updated that one that is now hosted that people can view. Let me show you what I mean. Here's that link I clicked a moment ago. If I hit refresh, see how it just updated this portion over here? Okay, so I'm going to have some of you, you're going to call into our technical support team. You're going to send me an email. You're going to say, Scott, it's not working. It's probably because you haven't marked it as ready and published it. So keep that in mind. Okay, now, once you've published it, you can click through. You can simply use one of these landing page URLs right here. If you don't want to do any other funny business, you don't have a web developer, you just need to launch something quickly, fantastic. These forms right here, these pages are live, functional, ready to go. All you got to do is start driving traffic here. Perfect. The other option, share it with your network. You can post it out to Facebook. You can post it out to Twitter. All you got to do is check one of those check boxes and have Infusionsoft already connected to Facebook or Twitter. I cover that in my application setup session, or you can look for that information at help.infusionsoft.com on how to connect with your social networks. What you can do is simply click edit, modify your tweet right here or your Facebook post, and then you simply click share and it posts this out Facebook or Twitter right away. Now you're connecting with those that follow you on your social networks. If you're more of the DIY type person, you want to do it yourself, great. Here's the code for you. I had somebody that asked here, let's see, Alexis was asking, is there a way to see or modify the code on the landing page in the branding center? Not in the branding center there, Alexis, because then you're just creating your basic template. Alexis, I'll circle back around to your question as well to show you another example. But once you've actually created a landing page that you're going to launch, you can grab that code right here. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to grab the code? Well, sometimes people want to put it at their own web domain. So this is one that I very quickly created and placed within here. Okay, so this I then copied the code and posted it on my own domain. So the difference is one is hosted at your Infusionsoft site. The other, if you grab that code and post it up to your site, you could then use it on your own domain. Again, there's nothing extra that you have to do. The code already talks to Infusionsoft. So it's pretty much plug and play. So that's the DIY portion. Have your webmaster do it. If you're scared of code and you don't want to screw something up, great. Just fill out this form right here, your webmaster's email address, your message, and basically what it does is it takes all this code and sends it over to your web developer as an attachment. So that's what you got to do when it comes to landing pages. There's one other thing that I want to show you, one slight difference with your web forms. So let me pull out a web form here. And I click through on that web form. Again, everything that I spoke to you about in regards to a landing page is the same when it comes to the form portion. You just have less stylization options here. We're creating a form that you will place within an existing page, like this form right down here, okay? Or these guys, Praxis Now, this form here that they're placing into a page. PTEX Group, this form here that they're placing into their page. Ministry Finance, this form here that they're placing into a page, okay? You can create that within Infusionsoft here. You create the form. You've got all the same options here. Field snippets to now add. Thank you page is the same as what I just described. Settings page here is the same as what I just described. And the code, there's a couple different options. Because now we're not creating a page in its entirety, we're just creating something that you want to place within your page. You have three different ways to now place that in your page: JavaScript, HTML, and HTML unstyled. JavaScript, I call it ET phone home. Basically, you place this little portion of script into your page, and every time the page loads, it calls back to Infusionsoft and says, hey, what should I show now? If you don't have a web developer on staff or somebody that's very easy to get a hold of and update your pages, you may choose this option, because if you make any changes to your form right here and you mark it as ready and publish those changes, the next time your site loads, it will display those changes. That is not the case when you use HTML code or HTML code unstyled. So be aware of that. When you use HTML code, what that does, that surfaces up all the same code. It will display the same web form that you have here within your site. It's just a lot more code because it will be loaded there onto your page directly. The JavaScript snippet simply calls back and requests all of this code. So one is hard-coded and one is just a request. If you want to make some slight tweaks or modifications, as most of these guys have done here, they've gone through and made some modifications to their form to dress it up a little bit more, then you will want to pull that HTML code, because then you can edit the code. You can go in and make any modifications that you need to. HTML code really just gives you the bare bones of it all. It gives you simply each form field, and you can then go in and dress it up from scratch. So those are your three different options. You then also have your webmaster do it, use the hosted version, and share this with your network. So those are the differences there. When it comes to your web forms, pretty much the same as a landing page, just some different options. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and take some questions here from you guys. I know we've had some questions that have been coming through, so I'm going to shift gears real quick and start looking at some of these questions. I do want to ask one other question here from you guys. How would you rate the content here on today's call? Go ahead and give me some feedback. 1 is a bad thing, terrible waste of your time. 5, great. You learned a ton. So anywhere on a scale from 1 to 5 there, let me know. And I'm going to start taking a look at some of these questions that we've got coming through. Mike, did you get an answer to the question that you were asking earlier here? Mike, you asked, would I use a landing page or a webinar, would I use a landing page or a web form for a webinar? Did you get some clarity on that as we started going through this? Go ahead and let me know there, Mike. I'm going to leave that poll up for another 5 seconds. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, thank you to those of you that have voted here and given me some feedback. I'm going to save that information. Perfect. Now, let me take a quick look here who we've still got left. We still have quite a few of you here. Looks like Mike that had asked that particular question is actually left, so I'm not going to wait for a response there. Glenn, did you get some clarity there on your question? Can we use a link in the campaign email to get more information about our prospects? Did I give you some clarification there? Okay, perfect. Let's see. Keep going through some more things here. Alexis. Now, Alexis, you were asking a question here. You said, is there a way to see or modify the code on the landing page in the branding center, or can we only modify it through the snippets and drag and drop form? Alexis, you actually do not have direct access to the code there, but I would ask, what is it that you're trying to do? Because you may have an option within there. Sometimes people need to modify that code. And when you need to do that, many times what you're able to do, if I click edit on that branding center portion, many times what you're able to do is actually use, it's kind of our Swiss Army knife snippet within here. It's called the HTML snippet. So most times when people are asking to access the code, I find that they're just trying to do something that they perhaps can't do with the drag and drop builder. And that's where they can then drop in this HTML code. So for example, if you wanted to embed a video, well, fantastic. You just grab that video embed code, you can place it here. Or if you wanted to do some more advanced stylization in a particular portion, you can do that here. Alexis, does that begin to speak to what you're trying to do? Awesome. Okay, perfect. We got an awesome with an exclamation point. I love it. See, that's the nice thing about doing these many times, is we start to get an idea of what people are trying to do. So great question there. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, that HTML snippet, when you're designing anything with the drag and drop builder, sometimes people say, Scott, I can't do what I'm trying to do here. They may be trying to do some advanced stylization that you can't quite do with the drag and drop builder. I look at the drag and drop builder as that tool that's going to get you 80% of the benefit that you need. That remaining 20%, there's so many different things that people are trying to do that we focused on getting that 80% of what people need with the stylizations here. So for those that are trying to do some advanced stylization or some advanced features within your landing pages, your web forms, your emails, you're going to want to look at this HTML snippet. Like I said, it's like the Swiss Army knife here of your of your drag and drop builder. You can pull that in anywhere, and basically it gives you an HTML window in which you can just type direct HTML code that will then be displayed here. So I've seen some people do some very unique things with that particular portion for some advanced stylization, but they're still working directly within Infusionsoft, and that's saved here within their templates. Next one here, Lori said, how do you delete the green arrow? Great question there, Lori. I've actually never tried to delete the green arrow. You may not be able to delete the green arrow there, Lori, because it is part of a Spotlight snippet. So, Lori, are you trying to delete it so that you can replace it, or do you just want to get rid of it? If you just want to get rid of it there, Lori, what you can do is, instead of using the Spotlight snippet, instead use a title snippet and a paragraph snippet, which gives you essentially the same thing, just without the picture there. So we give you the green arrow there so that it's easy to have something that's already text wrapped right there. And you don't have to now find out, how do I put the picture right there to the left-hand side of it? No, use the snippet when you need the image there. If you don't need it, great. Just use a title on a paragraph snippet. I keep looking at these all these snippets as Legos. They're just like Legos that you can put together in different fashions. Your Spotlight snippet is just 3 different Legos already put together: an image, a title, and a paragraph. If you don't need all 3, then don't use that particular Lego. Just use 2 of the smaller ones. Let's see, Victor, let me see if Victor's still with us. Looks like he is. Victor said, can you have more than one landing page template in the branding center? If so, how do you create a second one? Victor, you actually cannot have more than one landing page template in the branding center. You can only create one. But here's what I'm going to show you. You can create one. I would recommend you make the one that you create be the one that you use the most often, because that's the one that will preload. We do recognize that people will want to do additional things. So having you have to create other templates like that from scratch all the time, that would be ridiculous. So here's what you've got. If you go within a campaign, if I were you, and maybe you're going to have 2 or 3 different things, 2 or 3 different types of templates. Maybe you're going to have multiple templates for landing pages. Maybe you're going to have multiple templates for web forms. What I might look at doing here is Victor, I would just create a new campaign called templates. In this case, again, I'm going to title it ISVA, and I'll just say templates. And here's why. Because what I can do is I can then go in and create multiple templates within here. I can create, whatever maybe I have an event landing page. Maybe I've got an event web form. And I can go through and I can create those. Now, the benefit of it is when I'm in another campaign. So let's say I just came in here and I created these. I'll say this one here is going to be a landing page. This one here is going to be a web form. Great. Let me turn both of these on. Let me see if it will allow me to turn them on and publish them. I can turn on a landing page right here. I could turn on a web form right here. So I can create multiple templates in a secondary campaign, okay, kind of a catch-all campaign. Now, watch what happens. As long as those are published and ready to go or available, again, I don't have to distribute these anywhere. Nobody has to know about these. But now watch what happens. When I go back to any other template, any other campaign that I have, I can go in to a web form. And yes, it will default to whatever that default web form is that I have in my branding center. But what I can also do is I can say copy from a campaign. So I can do this with landing pages. I can do this with web forms, Victor. Now I can go over and say, you know what? I've got this one that I called ISVA templates. Whoops. Let me pull that down right here. ISVA templates. And I want my events web form. Great. It's going to show that to me. Yes, that's the one I want. Perfect. Use this, and it overwrites it. So you can still get the benefit of templates there, Victor, on web forms and landing pages. You just don't place them in the drag and drop builder or in the branding center. Does that help there, Victor? Perfect. That works. All right. Perfect. Glenn said, is there an option to have a drop-down menu or selections, for example, from pre-established price ranges? Glenn is asking about, he wants drop-downs. So I showed you how to do radio buttons and checkboxes. Glenn wants drop-downs instead of radio buttons or checkboxes. Glenn, you're going to use this other snippet, and you're actually going to create a custom field, and that custom field will be a drop-down field. So you might say price ranges, or what's your income ranges. Okay, so you might do something like 0 to 1,000 and 1,000 to 5,000, whatever it might be. Now, Glenn, I do want to point out to you, don't use commas here, because the minute you use a comma, it's going to create that as a new option. So just learn from me, don't use commas there. Okay. And now I'm going to say save this field. So what that's done is that's just created a drop down for me. You see that, Glenn? Awesome. Okay. Sarah, good to see you on here again. Sarah said, I came in late. If you want to add a personal video to a landing page, a video that is only shown one time the viewer watches it, so even if they check out some hyperlinks and return, they will not get the video played again. How can I do that? Sarah, that's going to be some advanced coding that is not something baked into Infusionsoft. If you want to do that, that's probably going to start getting into some cookies. When somebody gets onto the page and you drop a cookie, that's more advanced than I'm going to get into here. Heck, I'm actually not even certain how you would pull that particular one off, but it will be outside of Infusionsoft. Lori said, just figured out the delete. How would you adjust the web form size? Great question there, Lori. Check out format right here, layout and style. Underneath layout and style, what you're able to do is modify the form width and the field width. So the form width, if I'm trying to fit this in a sidebar, I can shrink it down. Be aware that it will likely add some padding to the outside of your form. So you might need to shrink this down. If you know your sidebar is 400 pixels, you're probably going to shrink this one down to about 375 or 370 to fit within that 400 pixel width. Then you can also modify your field width. So if this needed to get really small, kind of like that, you would also want to shrink down your field width to fit more appropriately. Okay. And it's just trying to get down here below what we need. There we go. Now you're starting to see that shrink down. So those are your options there. Let's see. Next question. Glenn, again, thank you for the feedback here. Get some great feedback from some of you guys. Glenn, can the email notification be sent to the contact's owner? Glenn, that built-in notification, the answer is no. It's not variable. Here on settings, it doesn't just go to the contact's owner. If you did want to have a notification email go to the contact owner, Glenn, you would need to start looking at building in some sort of sequence here that you would then have a follow-up email sent instead of to the person's email address. And Glenn, I know you've been on here a number of times. That's why I'm going deep here. You can click other, and now you could have that merge fields go to the owner's email address. So Glenn, that's how you could do that one. That's more of an advanced feature. If some of you were looking at going, what did Scott just do? Whoops, I just put that in the wrong spot there. You would actually want it to say owner first name, owner last name, and then it could go to the owner's email address. There we go. So if you're not quite sure what I just did, don't worry about it. You probably don't need it. Martha, great question there. Martha said, when connecting with Facebook, are you able to connect with your business fan page instead of personal page? Right now, Martha, for posting information out from Infusionsoft, it will only connect to and post to your personal page. When you want people to actually come back through and like your pages using, for example, our social snippets, and you have this on your landing pages as well. These social snippets, you can have people follow you, And instead of just choosing your personal page, you could send them to your Facebook page. And all you need is whatever your vanity URL. So if I went to facebook.com/Infusionsoft, you'll notice right here that we have a vanity URL. All I would need to do is pull that and place that within here. So everything after facebook.com. So that's a way for people to share things or connect with you on your Facebook page. But as far as you pushing content out, right now it just pushes to your personal pages, not to your business pages. Steve, thanks for the feedback. Glenn, Alexis, wonderful. Thanks for the feedback. Mike's asking, when's the next Infusionsoft University in the U.S.? Mike, it might be August. We just had a meeting on that one last week. Look for some announcements coming out. I will bring that to you as soon as I've got the details, as soon as we start promoting that one there, Mike. Actually, we've actually got a couple of them we're going to start promoting as well. I think we're going to take one to the East Coast. And probably bring one back down under again, down to Australia. So we've got some exciting stuff coming up there. Let's see. Other things here. Martha, can I change the style of the landing pages to change the colors? Oh, no, sorry. Martha's saying I can change the landing pages and change the colors, but how do I change the color of the arrow? Martha, the color of the arrow on a landing page is actually something that you don't have the ability to change. Let me go back to that. Reason being, it's not something that's controlled by a style. It's actually just a green arrow image. So this is an image right here that when I'm on that page, it's just an image. So it's not something that's controlled by the color schemes anywhere else. If you did want a different color arrow, you just need to go find a different image and then upload that and utilize it. Looks like we're very close to the end of the questions here. That's the last question that I've got right now. If you've got any other questions, go ahead and slip them in here under the wire before we wrap. Just please go ahead and keep those focused on the particular topic at hand. Again, thank you to all of you that have been here on the call today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your questions. I hope that you found this valuable and that you've learned a bunch. I'm getting some feedback here from you guys that many of you have found it to be so. I'm always open to feedback as well, so please give me a shout out. Send me a question or a shout out there on Twitter if you want to. Drop me an email. Just let me know how we did, what we can improve. Always looking for that information because these sessions, these are for you. These would help you get the most out of Infusionsoft. So that's our goal. So give us some feedback and let us know how we're doing. Again, thank you so much for being here with us today. Looks like we're about wrapped up with the questions, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. Remember, we've got a couple more sessions coming later this week. Wednesday morning, if I go to Academy, Wednesday morning, I've got e-commerce coming to you. I will be teaching you how to set up your products within Infusionsoft, your merchant accounts and otherwise so that you can sell through Infusionsoft. And then Wednesday midday, we've got Writing Killer Copy. We've got Kevin McGavro is going to be bringing that one to you Wednesday midday, same time as today. And this is all about putting the fuel into your Infusionsoft application. So that is your copy. So Kevin will be joining you there on that particular day. I'm excited for him to come bring his knowledge and expertise to you guys. So thanks so much for joining me here again today. Hope you all have a great afternoon or evening or morning, depending on what part of the world that you're in. And I look forward to seeing y'all on a future Virtual Academy. Thanks so much.